An impossible scene captured in a single image. A golden retriever rests peacefully beside three small lion cubs in the golden vastness of the African savanna. The cubs, with their spotted coats and still closed eyes, nestle against the dog's soft body as if she were their real mother. But how did this happen? What led a domestic dog to be in the middle of the African jungle caring for lion cubs? And more importantly, what happened when these cubs grew up and their wild instincts awakened?
The story begins in a small conservation reserve in East Africa, where a team of biologists worked tirelessly to protect endangered wildlife. Among the team members was Sarah, a dedicated veterinarian who had brought with her her faithful companion, a golden retriever named Bella. The dog always accompanied Sarah on her daily rounds through the reserve, curiously observing the wild animals from a distance, but always obedient and close to her owner. One morning, during a routine patrol on the edge of the reserve, Bella began to behave strangely. Her ears perked up, her body tensed, and she began sniffing intensely. Before Sarah could catch her, the dog darted toward a clump of dense bushes. Sarah ran after her, fearing Bella might encounter a dangerous predator. But when she finally reached her dog, the scene she found left her completely paralyzed. There, hidden beneath the shade of a solitary acacia tree, lay three tiny lion cubs. Their fragile bodies trembled, their eyes not yet fully open, and most alarmingly, there was no sign of their mother. Bella cautiously approached the cubs, sniffing them delicately. To Sarah's utter shock, the cubs began to make soft sounds and instinctively crawled toward the warmth of Bella's body. Something extraordinary was about to begin.
Sarah immediately alerted the rest of the team via radio. The situation was critical and delicate. The cubs could only live a few days, and without their mother, their chances of survival were practically nil. The team began an intensive search for the adult lioness within a radius of several kilometers, using vehicles and even a drone to scour the area. Hours passed without any sign of her. The devastating conclusion began to form. The mother had likely been a victim of illegal hunters who were still operating near the reserve. As the search continued, something surprising was happening back at camp. Bella refused to leave the cubs. She lay down beside them, allowing the little lions to snuggle against her warm body. Sarah watched, fascinated, as the dog gently licked the cubs' heads, just as she would her own pups. Bella's maternal behavior was so intense that it seemed to have been triggered by some deep primal instinct. The team met to decide the cubs' fate. The standard protocol would be to bottle feed them and then transfer them to a specialized sanctuary. But Dr. Marcus, the reserve's chief biologist, noticed something that would completely change the course of events. Bella had begun producing milk. Even without having had recent puppies, the constant contact with the lion cubs and their cries had triggered spontaneous lactation in the dog. It was rare but possible. Marcus made a decision that would divide opinions, to allow Bella to nurse the cubs, at least temporarily, while they assessed the best options for the little lion's future. The following days were filled with extraordinary discoveries. The three cubs, whom the team named Kato, Amara, and Zuri, began to grow stronger rapidly under Bella's care. The dog nursed them regularly, and her milk, surprisingly, seemed to meet the basic nutritional needs of the little lions. Sarah constantly monitored their health, conducting daily checkups and supplementing the cubs' diet with special protein-rich formulas that lions need to develop properly. The bond between Bella and the puppies deepened with each passing hour. The dog carried them delicately by the scruff of the neck when she needed to move them, just like a lioness would. She meticulously cleaned them after each meal and remained constantly alert, yawning softly whenever a stranger came too close. The puppies, in turn, recognized Bella as their mother. They followed her everywhere as soon as they could walk, stumbling over their own disproportionate paws, but always keeping the golden retriever in sight. News of this unlikely adoption began circulating among the region's scientific community. Researchers from neighboring universities visited the reserve to document this rare phenomenon. Everyone agreed it was a unique situation. While there were historical records of dogs nursing big cat cubs in zoos or controlled environments, such a spontaneous and successful case in a semi-wild environment had never been documented. But the big question remained unanswered. What would happen when the lion's natural predatory instincts began to awaken?
As the weeks turned into months, Kato, Amara, and Zuri grew at an impressive rate. Their small, frail bodies gave way to more robust and muscular limbs. Their innocent games began to include typical predator behaviors, chases, ambushes, and little bites. Bella participated in these games with infinite patience, rolling on the ground with the pups and letting them practice their hunting skills on her, even when their now sharper claws accidentally scratched her skin. Sarah and the team watched with growing concern. The lion cubs were already 3 months old and weighed almost 10 kilos each. Their jaws were strengthening, their teeth becoming sharper. During feeding sessions, which now included raw meat in addition to Bella's milk, the cubs displayed an instinctive ferocity that hadn't existed weeks before. Kato, the largest of the three, had already begun to emit small roars during playtime. It was only a matter of time before his wild instincts became impossible to ignore. Dr. Marcus called an urgent meeting. The decision everyone dreaded needed to be made. The cubs should be separated from Bella and transferred to a wildlife reintroduction program. The team was divided. Some argued that immediate separation was crucial for Bella's safety and to ensure the lions learned appropriate behaviors from their own species. Others, including Sarah, argued that the bond between Bella and the cubs was so strong that an abrupt separation could traumatize everyone involved. But no one was prepared for what would happen in the next 48 hours, an event that would completely change everyone's perspective on this unlikely family.
The night after the meeting, something unexpected happened that interrupted all discussions about separation. A pack of hyenas had dangerously approached the perimeter of the camp, attracted by the meat scraps used to feed the lion cubs. Hyenas are opportunistic and notoriously aggressive predators, capable of attacking much larger animals when in groups. The security team detected the pack through the night vision surveillance cameras. There were 6 adult hyenas slowly circling the enclosure where Bella and the cubs were resting. Bella was the first to sense the danger. Her entire body stiffened, the fur on her back stood on end, and she let out a deep, menacing growl unlike anything anyone had ever heard from her before. The cubs, still asleep, awoke startled by the sound. Instinctively, Bella pushed them behind her, positioning her own body as a barrier between the little lions and the fence separating them from the hyenas. Sarah and 2 guards rushed to the scene with flashlights and tranquilizer guns, but before they could intervene, they witnessed something extraordinary. Kato, Amara, and Zuri didn't run away or hide behind Bella. Despite being only 3 months old, something ancestral awakened within them. The 3 pups positioned themselves beside the dog, forming a unified defensive line. Their small, still high-pitched and underdeveloped roars echoed through the night, along with Bella's fierce barks. The hyenas, confused by the unusual sight of a golden retriever and 3 lion cubs defending territory together, hesitated. That display of unity, despite the difference in species, emanated something powerful. After a few minutes of tense confrontation, the hyenas retreated and disappeared into the darkness. Everyone fell silent, processing what they had just witnessed.
The incident with the hyenas completely changed the dynamics of discussions about the future of Bella and the cubs. Dr. Marcus realized he was witnessing something far beyond a simple interspecies adoption. He was observing the formation of a pack bond that transcended biological barriers. He proposed a groundbreaking experiment. Instead of separating Bella from the cubs immediately, the team would create a gradual transition program where the lions would learn survival skills while maintaining contact with their adoptive mother. To achieve this, they built an expanded enclosure connecting a wild training area with the space where Bella and the cubs lived. The team brought in 2 adult lions rescued from an illegal circus years earlier, named Jabari and McKenna, who had been rehabilitated and lived in the reserve. The idea was to allow Kato, Amara, and Zuri to observe and interact with adults of their own species, learning behaviors that Bella, however dedicated she was, could never teach. The first meeting was scheduled for an afternoon of controlled observation. When the doors between the enclosures first opened, everyone held their breath. Jabari and McKenna approached cautiously, their noses picking up the mixed scents of the cubs, which carried both the smell of lion and that of dog. Bella remained alert but not aggressive, watching every move of the adult lions. The cubs, curious and still innocent, approached Jabari with their tails raised. The large lion, weighing over 180 kilograms, lowered his massive body to the ground and allowed the cubs to sniff him. Then, in a surprising gesture, Jabari looked directly at Bella and inclined his head slightly, as if acknowledging her role. It was as if the king of the jungle was paying respect to the unlikely mother who had saved 3 of his kind. The following months brought a fascinating transformation. Kato, Amara, and Zuri now divided their time between 2 completely different worlds. During the mornings, they accompanied Jabari and McKenna, observing how the adult lions moved, hunted training prey, and communicated through deep roars that made the ground vibrate. The cubs imitated every movement, their bodies growing stronger and more coordinated each day. Their childish games evolved into genuine hunting techniques, calculated ambushes, teamwork, and the patience needed to wait for the right moment to strike. But every afternoon and evening, without exception, the 3 cubs returned to Bella. Even though they already weighed over 40 kilos each, and with their manes beginning to appear, in Kato's case, the young lions still sought the comfort of the golden retriever. They lay beside her, their enormous heads resting on the dog's paws. Bella patiently cleaned them, reaching as much as she could of their increasingly larger bodies. Sarah meticulously documented everything, knowing she was recording something that would probably never be seen again in natural history. The real test came when the cubs turned 8 months old. The team organized a mock hunt in a large enclosure in the reserve, releasing a previously sedated antelope so the young lions could practice their newly acquired skills. Bella watched from afar, accompanied by Sarah. Kato led the attack, with Amara and Zuri flanking on either side, exactly as Jabari had taught them. The coordination was perfect, their instincts fully awakened. In a matter of minutes, they had brought down the prey with impressive efficiency. But then something unexpected happened. Before eating, the 3 lions looked back, searching for Bella, as if asking for her approval.
As Kato, Amara, and Zuri approached their first birthday, the inevitable reality set in. The young lions now weighed between 70 and 80 kilograms. Their prey was fully developed, and their roars echoed through the reserve with the authority of true predators. Despite the love they clearly felt for Bella, their bodies and instincts demanded a space that the dog's constant presence could no longer provide. Dr. Marcus and Sarah knew that the moment of definitive separation had finally arrived, but they were determined to do it in the most careful way possible. The team implemented a gradual transition plan that would last 3 weeks. In the first week, Bella spent only the mornings with the cubs. In the second, only a few hours a day. In the third week, visits were reduced to 1 hour a day. Throughout this process, Sarah constantly monitored everyone's behavior. Bella showed clear signs of sadness, remaining seated for long periods near the fence separating the enclosures, watching her adopted cubs play with Jabari and McKenna. The young lions also felt the absence, howling softly during the first nights without the golden retriever. On the last day of their scheduled interaction, The team allowed a final farewell. Bella entered the enclosure where the 3 lions rested under the shade of a large tree. Despite their intimidating size, Kato, Amara, and Zuri approached her with the same gentleness they had shown as cubs. They rubbed their enormous heads against the dog's body, purring deeply. Bella licked them one last time, her paws barely reaching the faces that had once fit entirely in her mouth. After almost 20 minutes, Bella slowly moved away and walked towards the exit. She looked back one last time, her eyes meeting Kato's, and then walked through the gate, which closed behind her. The most intense chapter of this extraordinary story had come to an end, but the lasting impact was yet to come.
6 months had passed since their separation. Kato, Amara, and Zuri were now young adult lions fully integrated into the reserve's conservation program. They hunted masterfully, established their own territory within the protected area, and demonstrated all the natural behaviors of their species. To any outside observer, they were simply 3 magnificent African lions living as nature intended. But the reserve staff knew there was something different about them, something that made them unique among all the lions they had ever cared for. Bella continued living at the camp with Sarah, accompanying the veterinarian on her daily rounds. The dog had resumed her normal routine, but frequently stopped and looked towards the distant enclosure where her adopted puppies lived. One day, during a routine inspection in an area near the 3 lions' territory, something extraordinary happened. Bella was accompanying Sarah when she suddenly stopped, her whole body stiffened, and her ears perked up. From the middle of the tall vegetation, 3 massive figures slowly emerged. Kato, Amara, and Zuri had detected the familiar scent. What happened next left the entire team watching from a distance, completely speechless. The 3 lions approached Bella, not with the posture of predators, but with cautious and almost reverent movements. Kato was the first to reach her, lowering his enormous head until his snout touched the dog's. Amara and Zuri approached from the sides, their gigantic bodies enveloping the golden retriever in something that could only be described as a hug. Bella remained calm, her tail wagging slowly as she licked the face of each of her pups. For 15 minutes, that unlikely family remained together, a living testament to the fact that love and the bonds formed transcend all the barriers that nature can impose. When they finally parted ways, the 3 lions returned to the savanna, roaring softly as a farewell. Bella watched them leave and then turned to Sarah, ready to continue her journey. That ordinary golden retriever had done the impossible, saved 3 lives, created a bridge between different worlds, and proven that motherhood knows no species limits. The researchers who documented this story know they will likely never witness something like it again. Kato, Amara, and Zuri continue to live in the reserve to this day, kings of the savanna who carry within them the memory of an unlikely mother who gave them a second chance at life. And Bella? She remains Sarah's faithful companion, but now with a legacy that will be told for generations. The dog who adopted lions and lived to tell the tale.